This is Football Night in America, served by Applebee's.
Welcome to the FNIA podcast, coming up on week 18 of the season. And I've got Rodney Harrison with me, but Rod, we're missing our quarterback today. Jack Collinsworth on basketball duty, so we're going to have to handle business.
Well, I like you better as a host anyway, Coach.
Oh, no. I'll tell you what, we saw some exciting football last week. We got some big games ending up with the Minnesota Vikings visiting the Detroit Lions for the number one seed. I've never seen a game like this where the last game is going to come down with so much riding on it. So we've got a lot to talk about. Should be fun. But let's go back to last week. We saw in some big moments some guys come through and play great football. But we also saw some things, Rodney, that had us scratching our head.
Yeah, and Coach, we talk about situational football. I was fortunate enough to play with Coach Belichick, and that was something that we really focused hard on. We practiced it, we walked through it, we talked about it. It was something that was really the driving force behind our defense and something that we studied. And Raheem Morris, as the head coach and the leader of this team, he has to ultimately take control because he's the head coach. He's got to make sure that he calls the proper timeouts.
Yeah, and twice in that game, the game that we had, Atlanta and Washington, you're the Atlanta Falcons, you're playing for your playoff lives, and you've got a young quarterback in there who's balling out for you. Now we come to the end of the first half, and you're moving the football, and you got a chance to score, and you and I are sitting there saying, take a timeout, take a timeout.
Yeah, Coach. Darnell Mooney got tackled with 40 seconds left in the second half. In the second quarter. They had 3 timeouts there. All they do is take a timeout there. They didn't call timeout. You look up the ball. They hiked the ball again at 20 seconds. They passed the ball to Kyle Pitts at 16 seconds left. And now they're not in the situation. But you got to use your timeouts. You got 3 timeouts. You can't take them to the locker room. You can't take them home.
Yeah, so they end up kicking a field goal. Everybody's happy, but you and I are sitting there saying, man, you had a chance, especially with this young kid. He can throw a ball into the end zone. Give him some shots to score a touchdown. They kick a field goal, okay, and then the first drive of the second half, they've got a 10-point lead. They've got momentum. They get a stop. They get a sack. But on 3rd and 20-something, they get a defender with an illegal contact penalty, keeps the drive going. And you and I both said at the time, this is a big play.
No, I thought it was the biggest play of the game, Coach. You talk about 3rd down and 22. The Falcons sacked Jaden Daniels. But then all of a sudden, it's illegal contact by D'Angelo Malone, and it's an automatic first down. And when that happened, it took the win. It took everything out of the Falcons, and it kept that drive going. But that was the biggest play of the game right there.
It was. And as a defender, you've got to talk in those situations. Hey, long yardage, we sit back, we protect the sticks, make them throw the ball in front of us, let our pass rush work, and we're off the field. And they would have been off the field with a 3-and-out and getting the ball back with a 10-point lead. Instead, Washington takes almost the whole third quarter with a long drive, and they get back in the game and get momentum. Should have never happened.
Yeah, and I just say it's a lack of communication. I mean, those are things that you're saying, hey, guys, it's 3rd down and 22. We're going to play a little deeper. No need to touch the receivers. Let's play from deep to short, whatever they catch. Let them catch it in front of us. Let's rally and make the tackle. We get off the field. And this is a kid. He's not a starter. He's a kid that comes in. He's in a nickel situation. You have to make sure that you communicate, hey, stay deep, no hands, watch the football, no offsides, don't grab, don't hold, just all those subtle reminders, Coach.
Yeah, I know you as a veteran safety, you would have been speaking that as they're breaking the huddle, just reminding everybody. And they didn't do that, get a big penalty, cost them 7 points and momentum. Well, now we've got a tight game. It's back and forth. These quarterbacks are doing their thing. We get a 4th down miracle play by Atlanta. Penix fires a ball in, 4th and goal to Kyle Pitts to tie the game up. Now they get a stop. Washington has to punt the ball. Atlanta's backed up. And I get it. At the beginning of the drive, you don't want to have to punt the ball again. So they run Bijan Robinson twice. But guess what? He makes 19 yards on those 2 runs. So now you're in position to score. Don't you take a timeout there, Rodney?
And it was tough to watch because in the fourth quarter, you talk about Mike Tirico even called it. It was like 34 seconds left after Mooney caught the ball. He was at the 45-yard line, and Mike Tirico said, well, the Falcons should call a timeout. They didn't call a timeout. They hiked the ball again when it was like 17 seconds left. So they let all that clock, like 23 seconds, tick. And then you still have 2 timeouts left. And I'm like, and we're looking at each other and saying, what are they doing? And you were getting frustrated. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're on the sideline saying, come on, give your quarterback a chance. Take a timeout, set this up, calm him down. They ended up running 3 plays in 1 minute and 2 seconds and then trying to kick a 56-yard field goal to win the game. And they didn't have to. They took 2 timeouts into the end of the game with them.
And I look at Raheem Morris, and he didn't say it post-game, but I was looking for him to come up and say, you know what? It was my fault. I'm the head coach. I was in charge of those timeouts. I should have done a better job of using those timeouts. I don't think he knew. I guess as a defensive coordinator, it's different, coach, when you're focused on just the defense as opposed to being the head coach, and you have to kind of look at everything. But it was just a bad mistake in a critical moment.
Yeah. I think in that situation, he went into the drive saying, hey, we don't want to lose it here. I don't want to go 3 and out and punt it back to them. So let's take our time and take time off the clock. But now when Bijan breaks those 2 long runs, now your thought process has to flip. And you got to say, now we can win the game. Let's go win it. And I thought that's what Atlanta didn't do.
Coach, what was the most impressive thing that you saw from the Washington Commanders?
That spirit of it's never over. And it doesn't matter what's going to happen. Our quarterback can win the game for us if we hang in there. And also, I thought, and we asked Bobby Wagner about it, he didn't really go into detail. The first half, they were getting carved up with Bijan Robinson running. And something happened, something clicked in, and they stopped Atlanta from running the ball in the second half. And I thought that whatever adjustment they made for that second half run defense was fantastic.
I thought one of the things from a positive defensive side for the Atlanta Falcons was I thought A.J. Terrell did a heck of a job against Terry McLaurin. Yeah. I thought he did. I thought he followed him for the majority of the game. He did a great job of not giving up those big plays. And Terry McLaurin was relatively quiet the entire game. I thought he was tremendous.
You're right about that because on our pregame show, Raheem Morris burst into our set and said, we're going to stop the run. That's our game plan. And I told Matthew Berry, they're focused on the run. McLaurin's going to get a lot of one-on-ones. And Matthew went on and said, well, he should have a big day then. And he did. He had one-on-ones all day, but Terrell shut him down. And that was huge for the Falcons.
And, Coach, I was looking at Michael Penix. I knew he had some overthrown balls, and people kind of texted me like, what's wrong with Penix and his accuracy? But most people didn't realize just how windy it was in that stadium. As you sitting at home watching it on television, you can't really tell. But, Coach, we were down there. We did our post-game show. Our papers are flying all over the place. So I think he's going to be more in sync with his receivers. He's going to be a lot more accurate. But I'm excited if I'm the Atlanta Falcons. I got a young quarterback. He's not afraid to stand in their pocket. He's got a laser of an arm. He's smart. You could just tell the potential of both these young quarterbacks.
I agree with you. And Zach Robinson, Atlanta's offensive coordinator, told us before the game, I feel liberated now because I've got my whole playbook. I can run anything with this guy. He can throw it to any part of the field. I can run the naked boots and get him out of the pocket. We can run our play action stuff. We just got so much more going, and they've got their quarterback of the future, no doubt about it.
And Coach Quinn, I know he's excited about the toughness, the mental toughness of his team and their fight. But at the end of the day, Coach, they have to play cleaner football. You can't go in the playoffs with all these penalties against really good teams because you're going to look up at the score and you're going to get blown out. You got to play cleaner football, and that's something that he has to emphasize to his team.
No doubt. And speaking of cleaner football and situational football, let's go to the other big game of the weekend, Green Bay at Minnesota. And it ends up being a 2-point game. And there were some situations, some plays in there, Rodney, that, again, you just shake your head. we'll go to the end of the first half of that game. Minnesota's driving. Green Bay stops them. They got to kick a 55-yard field goal, and it's no good. But Edgerrin Cooper is lined up offside. And what are you thinking as a defensive player there? You had to be going crazy watching that.
Yeah, I mean, and it really took away from the excellent game that he had. I mean, he was all over the field making tackles. But once again, you always have those end guys on that field goal block looking down the line and saying, hey, Edgerrin, scoot back up half a yard or scoot up. And that's what you got to do. Those are the simple checklists that you have to do in every situation, in every moment. That's why you need, multiple leaders. But that should never happen. And if the special teams coach, if he's looking down the line, he should be saying, hey, man, get back. But you can't make those type of mistakes and they end up losing by 2 points.
Yes, and so you give them another kick. He makes the kick. That's just 3 points that you gifted them, and then you lose the game by 2 points. That hurts. Well, the other side of that coin is Minnesota on their last drive. They get the ball back. They've got a 2-point lead coming down to the 2-minute warning. They've got to make a first down to ice the game. They put it in Sam Darnold's hands. And they call 3 naked boots where he can get outside the pocket. If it's not there, he can run. If it is there, he can throw it. He did a great job of decision-making, threw it to 3 different guys. They all stayed in bounds. They executed that segment of things perfectly.
Well, where do you think that came from? That came from a lot of work with head coach Kevin O'Connell, the time that they put in, the communication. And once again, Kevin O'Connell was drafted by the Patriots. So Bill Belichick drafted this guy.
I was going to hit that.
So a lot of emphasis on situational football, those moments. And coach, you can practice for 2 hours if you want, if you're a professional team. But what I love about it is practicing those situations, because the more you're in those situations, the less nervous you become. Now it becomes like second nature for you. It's no big deal. You don't get nervous. You don't get overwhelmed by the moment.
Yep. And Coach O'Connell playing for Coach Belichick, I promise you, he was on the headset to Sam Darnold. Hey, Sam, you're going to be outside the pocket. If it's there, take it. If not, stay in bounds and run. Tell those guys not to go out of bounds. Tell them no penalties. We've got to just execute this. You can just imagine what you're hearing, because you heard it for years with Coach B.
And just the confidence that they have in the quarterback, to Sam Darnold, to be able to do that. He's a big athletic guy, so putting it in his hands, getting him out there against the defender. Now he can throw it out of bounds. He can run. He can throw it to one of his guys. And I thought Sam Darnold, just excellent decision-making, spreading the ball around when they overloaded and they were trying to take Justin Jefferson away, and just the patience of Coach O'Connell running the ball, passing it, screens. He's a heck of a play caller.
He really is. And I thought he did a great job. As you say, their whole focus was on taking away Jefferson. And for the first 3 quarters, it was, okay, I'll get Naylor involved. I'll get Addison. Here's the ball we'll use the tight end. Don't worry about it, Sam. Eventually, we're going to get the ball to Justin. You just keep following your reads. We're going to move it. And I thought Darnold was outstanding. But a lot of that, as you say, goes to coaching and play calling.
And Coach, I was excited about Justin Jefferson. He's your leader. He's your $100 million guy. And his attitude never changed. So when you're watching him play, you don't know if he has 0 catches or you don't know if he has 10 catches. And that's the beautiful thing about the spirit of Justin Jefferson. He's all about team. It's not just about him and his numbers. And he'll do anything it takes for that team to win. And I was really proud of just the attitude that he had early in the game.
I agree. I was watching him, and every break it seemed like he'd be sitting on the sideline with Keenan McCardle, their wide receiver coach. They're looking at the tablet. Here's what they're doing. Don't worry. Eventually this is going to be here. Sam went to the right guy, and he's just as excited. When they doubled him and they hit Naylor on the touchdown pass on the post, he's as excited as anybody. And that's awesome. That's what you want from your leader.
Absolutely, Coach. And I tell you, man, it goes a long way in the playoffs when you're getting these guys these valuable repetitions. They're catching meaningful passes. Now you get into that divisional game, the wild card game or whatever, and, hey, they're ready to play.
Yep. Well, let's turn from there and look at who's eating good in the neighborhood, sponsored by Applebee's. But before we get to that, here's the playoff picture in the division. And you talk about mistakes, Rodney, and little details. Okay, Green Bay, you line up offsides on a field goal, you lose the game, and it drops you from 6 to 7. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but the way this is set up now, if you'd have won that game, you would be going to play the Rams. Instead, you lost, and now you're going to play Philadelphia. Totally different picture just with one mistake.
Yeah, and that's tough, man. Philadelphia, they're much improved on the defensive side of the ball. Now you got to go on the road in a hostile environment. Coach, we've been there as players. We've been there as broadcaster. It's no fun going there. That's a very tough environment to go to.
And then we also saw in there Atlanta dropped out. They were in that number 4 spot. They dropped all the way to in the hunt. One illegal contact penalty on 3rd and 22 changes things around, and now you're one play out of the playoff race. And that's why I love this time of year, because it forces you to play good, solid, situational football.
And Tampa really gave them a gift. I mean, when they went out there and lost to the Dallas Cowboys, they put them back in first place, and they gave the Falcons a gift. And this is something that's going to hunt the Falcons the entire offseason. It's something that you said Sunday night, and it's something that Raheem Morris is going to have to live with. This is going to be a tough situation for them, because they should have won this division.
Yeah, they had it in their grasp, and now they've put it in Tampa's control, and I don't think Tampa's going to let this go. They play the Saints at home. My boys have already asked for tickets. They want to be out there and celebrate going to the playoffs, and I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield, he's looked terrific. Bucky Irvin, and I think Baker Mayfield is going to put another great performance, 4 or 5 touchdowns. I can see it right now.
Yeah. Well, speaking of putting up touchdowns and eating good, who's eating good in the neighborhood? Sponsored by Applebee's. And Rob, we got 2 units that are really eating good. Let's start with the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, they had a little downtime, lost the game to Cleveland, lost to Pittsburgh, but lately they're playing their type of football.
Absolutely, Coach. And I think one of the biggest things I've noticed is Marlon Humphreys. He was playing outside corner. They bring him inside into the slot, and he has flourished. He's played in the slot before, but right now he's playing on an elite level. He's got 6 interceptions, and then they took Kyle Hamilton. They put him in the deep part of the field. Now they eliminated a lot of big plays, and now they're just playing great football. You see a lot of those veteran pass rushers getting to the quarterback, but that was the significant move that really changed the course of their defense.
And on the offensive side of the ball, Lamar's played great all year. Derrick Henry has pounded the ball, but Mark Andrews getting healthy and getting back in the lineup and being part of that offense, now they are really, really tough to defend with that tight end threat.
Yeah, not only him, but Isaiah Likely, man. These guys are big guys. They're 6'5", 6'6". They run extremely well. They're smooth. It's not like they're big, stiff tight ends. These guys are very fluid. They catch everything, and they're also willing and excellent blockers. So these guys do it all for the Baltimore Ravens.
They're playing really, really well. They've gotten themselves to the point where if they win this week against Cleveland at home, which they should do, they'll be the number 3 seed, and they will be tough to deal with in the playoffs.
And, Coach, you talk about out of all those teams, the Baltimore Ravens, to me, because I thought ultimately they were going to probably be the number 1 seed in the AFC. And to me, they're the most dangerous team. You look at Baltimore, there's no way. Buffalo's looking at Baltimore and saying, hey, we played against Kansas City, and you guys beat us down physically. Y'all should be the number 1 seed, yet you're the number 3 seed. So I think Baltimore is going to have a chip on their shoulder. Todd Monken, he understands what you got to do. Run the football. Don't save Derrick Henry. Run the ball. Use that big physical offensive line. Then you can use our Lamar Jackson with all the RPOs and things like that. You got Zay Flowers. You got so many weapons. Rashad Bateman, he's been fantastic this year. I don't see why the Ravens don't make a run and go straight to the Super Bowl, Coach. They got everything they need.
And if we could go back to that graphic right now, the way it's set up, the second round, if the favorites win, would be Baltimore going to Buffalo. And that would be an outstanding game, maybe the game of the year, because everybody's talking about Kansas City, but that game may determine who gets to play Kansas City.
Yeah, Baltimore's they're a different type of team because they're so big and so physical. So they create a lot of a lot of issues for the Buffalo Bills defense. Excuse me. Yeah, they create a lot of issues with the Buffalo Bills defense, man. And Baltimore, they have that experience. And I just think that Lamar, his confidence is on a different level. I think the Baltimore Ravens, they're dangerous.
Yeah, and I don't think there's many teams that could go into Buffalo and win, but Baltimore is one of them because of the physical nature, running the ball late in January in the wind and the cold up there. Baltimore could do it. So they're eating good right now. Another team that's eating good in the neighborhood is the Los Angeles Rams. We kind of counted them out early. They got their receivers healthy, and Kyron Williams is playing some outstanding ball for them on offense, Rodney.
He is a coach. I mean, he's a smaller guy, but he plays with a lot of heart, and he continues to move forward. And just the effort, the job that Sean McVay has done encouraging these guys. They could have quit, coach. You know, they had offensive line injured. Their starting wide receivers were injured. Guys stepped up in place, and he just continued to motivate those guys, and they played extremely well. So props to the Rams for doing their thing, clinching the NFC West.
Yep. They went from a team that was struggling, they're kind of on the fringe of things, to solidly in that number 3 position. And Matthew Stafford is playing excellent ball. Let's talk about their 2 rookie defenders, though, too, Rodney. I think they've injected a lot of juice to that team as well.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Verse and Braden Fisk, those guys up pass rushing, but also in the secondary, Cam Kitchens and McCullen, those guys coming in as rookie safeties. The Rams have done a great job of drafting and getting a lot of young players. And I know you transition from Aaron Donald, but they're going to be fine on the defensive side of the ball for a long time, coach, because they're building with young players. And they're not paying these guys. They're not paying Aaron Donald $35-40 million a year. They're paying all these guys on the front line on rookie contracts. So now they're going to have this offseason opportunity to go spend more money, continue to fix up the offensive line, continue to add more weapons around Matthew Stafford. And coach, with this squad and the potential of this squad, I don't see Matthew Stafford walking away anytime soon.
Oh, no. He's loving it. And you have to really respect Coach McVay and what he's done. They had a Super Bowl squad a couple of years ago. Well, it's a different unit now. It's Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua and Jared Verse. And they just keep it going with these young guys. And you have to credit the front office, as you say, and the coaching staff for developing that talent.
Yeah, really tough, very physical, just a different mindset. But I'm excited about these young players, and I'm just really pumped up about Sean McVay and what he's been able to do this season.
Well, playoffs almost locked in. There's 2 spots left to be determined. Denver has the inside track. If they win their game, they're in. Kansas City, we don't know if they're going to play their regulars or not. If Denver would lose the game, then that gives Miami and Cincinnati a chance. And then on the NFC side, it's really that South Division Championship. If Tampa wins, they're in. If Tampa loses, Atlanta can get in with a win. But the big game, and the one everybody's talking about, is our game. And as I said, I've never seen a game like this where you've got 2 teams with 14 wins, the Lions and you got the 2 teams with 14 wins, the Lions and the Vikings. They're playing the last game. The winner is going to be the division champion, and the number 1 seed have a bye and 2 home games. The loser is going to have to go on the road. And, man, it's all going to come down to this game, Rod.
Look, I have a lot of respect for Dan Campbell and everything that he's preaching and everything that he's taught his team this year. But if I have an opportunity as a head coach to sit some of my guys and rest them, and you know, before going out on the West Coast and just rest my guys, there's no way I'm having all my guys play in that game, coach. Because you think about it, they probably got back 5 or 6 o'clock this morning in Detroit. They're tired. It's going to take an entire day, at least an entire day, just to recover. And then all of a sudden it becomes Wednesday. Then you look up and say, well, we're playing in a few days. Your body doesn't feel good till about Friday. And now you're trying to mentally get ready for a game on Sunday. And the Vikings are just sitting at home, chilling, relaxing, and watching. There's no way I would have played my guys. I understand he's trying to build that mental toughness, but there is a such thing as rest, mentally and physical.
And Sunday night road games are something. Monday night road games are something else. And Monday night road games on the West Coast are even more. So now you've got to come back and you've got to regroup, and you're playing a team that has a day's advantage on you. So that's difficult. The other thing that's difficult for Detroit right now, their defense is banged up. This is not the same defense we saw early in the year. They don't have their pass rushers. They don't have some of their secondary guys, and they're giving up 30-plus points every week, and they're going to play against a great offense in Minnesota.
And a great play caller. And, I know Coach Glenn, he wants to play a lot of this tight man-to-man coverage. But there's a certain point in time, Coach, you have to look and say, hey, we're not getting a lot of pressure. Maybe we have to play a little bit more zone, maybe send a couple more zone pressures and see if we can create or fabricate some of that pressure. But, excuse me, guys. You look and these linebackers, they struggle in coverage. And now you can just sit back there, you can pick them apart, and Kevin O'Connell calling plays. I know he's licking his chops with the opportunity against this defense.
There are going to be a lot of points on the board. Buffalo went in there, won a high-scoring game, scored in the 40s against Detroit. I think Minnesota's looking at it the same way. Hey, we know they're playing. They've got a dynamic offense. We're going to have to score. But I see a high-scoring shootout, and, man, it's going to be exciting.
I'm still really concerned about that recovery aspect, Coach. They got some young players, Terrion Arnold, Brian Branch. These guys haven't gone through full seasons of the NFL. And, quite frankly, they looked tired last night, man. They fought and they clawed, they gave everything, but they looked tired. They looked worn down. And I promise you, getting up this morning, they're walking in a treatment. They're exhausted. They got to rehydrate. It's going to take 2 to 3 days just for their bodies to start feeling good. So I expect Dan Campbell to say, you know what, guys, we're not going to do a lot these next couple days. You guys take care of yourself. It's going to be more of a mental game. And that's what you concern yourself about.
That's the way they have to approach it. And, Detroit is a physical running team. So can you be physical after that long trip, night game, a lot of energy that you expended? So we'll see. But I think we're going to have a great one. I'm just so excited, looking forward to it. The Detroit people are pumped up, chance to get the number 1 seed for the first time in their history. They're going to be fired up and excited.
But, Coach, I got to give you props, man. You called this 3 weeks ago. You said this is what's going to happen. You're going to say such and such is going to win, and Minnesota and Detroit Lions going to set up for Week 18. You called it. You said it. So I got to give you you were right for once in your life, okay?
For once. Well, we'll be there. I can't wait. It's going to be exciting. And we'll have our man Jack back with us. But hopefully everybody can see us Sunday night in Detroit.
You're going home, Coach.